Good afternoon. I am Tina Tasaka, and this is the Lotus Broadcast powered by Cannabis X America. I am Tina Tasaka, and I am here with the gentleman from 420 IT Solutions, and they are actually coming in live from Las Vegas. But we'll be able to talk about that little story here in just a second. These two gentlemen, I actually had the pleasure of meeting. Well, I met Frank in Las Vegas during MJ BizCon, but we have Frank Salluce. He is the CEO and one of the founders of 420 IT Solutions. Frank, raise your hand. And
That may
we
be
have David. Is it David Smokler? Is that how you pronounce it?
Yep, correct.
Is
Thank you.
everybody jealous that you have that last name in the cannabis industry?
All the time. Since we're OGs in the industry, it's worked well.
actually
Do they try to make up other names for you? Do they try to like expand on your name and try to make it into even more of just a Smokler? They try to give you another first name to go along with Smokler?
No, typically they're just like, you know what? You're in the right industry. It was meant for you and meant for
Oh,
the
I
team.
love
So
that.
yeah,
I love that. And David, you're the COO and the founder as
yes,
well, along with your partner.
yes,
Yeah. So did you two came in together? You two built this company together, correct?
yes. Yep.
Excellent, excellent. So we met in Las Vegas, Frank, and
Right.
under really funny circumstances. We were at MJ BizCon and we were invited to a really great sesh. I mean, was that sesh unbelievable? It was at
It was.
Smoke and Mirrors, and shout out to Smoke and Mirrors for sure. David, were you there?
I was there. Yes, I was the other
Okay.
side. We were
Oh,
meeting,
okay, excellent,
networking, as they
excellent.
say.
There were a
Yeah.
lot of people there because
Yeah.
I mean it was just jam-packed. They had a tent in the parking lot of Smoke and Mirrors, and they had a tent and they had bagels galore, orange juice, coffee, the works. I mean, a real true traditional bagel
Mhm.
sesh, but there was a lot more than bagels going on, right?
Yeah. Yes, there was.
And that's such a great consumption lounge there. So, Frank, we met and you started telling me about your company.
Yeah.
And this would be a perfect lead in for me to just hand it over to one or both of you gentlemen to
Sure.
talk about 420 IT Solutions. When did your company get founded? Why did you start your company? And then let's lead in, then we'll talk more about what your company does. But how did you guys start your company and why did you start 420 IT Solutions?
Sure. So first thing I will say is Salluce is the last name. Just wanted to throw that out there. I got a
Thank
nice
you.
CE at the end and just wanted to just throw that out there. Yeah, we started our business back in 2009. We had thought to ourselves, boy, being both cannabis advocates in our personal life, we had noticed that there was a potential opportunity in the early days of medical in California to provide some services, some data privacy services to medical cannabis doctors. So our original thought was because we did some work for hospitals and were involved with helping hospitals with protected health information and PII, personal information, and securing that we thought there might be some leadway into the cannabis industry because a cannabis medical doctor is commingling other patient data, and so we thought there might be some angle to help those folks protect their data um, from data breaches. And that was our original idea. And then we also thought that there might be a way that when the industry does become recreational, that we would be able to provide some compliance services, some of our traditional Big Four advisory services that we did in our career to that point. And the interesting story is David was over my beach house at the time, back in the day, and we basically had a break in between a regular client meetings, and I said, "Hey, Dave, how about a bong hit?" And so Dave's like, "Sure, I'll have a bong hit." We did a bong hit, and I said, wow, I wonder who's going to be providing services to the folks that are getting involved in the cannabis industry, and maybe that might be something that we could do to help these folks and legitimize their businesses and help them with professional services.
This was so early in the game, if you will, that we said to ourselves, one day one day the cannabis industry is going to need this level of compliance that we were servicing at that time. For example, Columbia Medical Center out
Right.
in New York City,
Right.
and companies, hospitals throughout the country.
Right.
So, and it just made sense.
And we have a lot of traditional clients up to this point. We have a background in entertainment, so we did a lot of royalty audits for artists back in the day. Also, healthcare as well, and then other heavily regulated industries such as pharmaceutical and the like. So we have a wide variety of experience. I'm actually also a health official in the state of New Jersey, so I also have the ability to provide environmental health and safety services, in addition to environmental assessment type of services. That's not something we're really doing right now. It's mostly banking compliance, due diligence, audit, and assurance, specifically for financial services. One of the things that we struggle with, Tina, and I think we've had this conversation, is our name is 420 IT Solutions. But what we really do is we provide on-site compliance, remote compliance services, due diligence, audit, and assurance. And we also work for court-appointed receivers. As you probably are aware, there's no such thing as bankruptcy in the cannabis industry due to its legality, state to state.
Exactly.
Right. And so basically what you're left with is a state level type of bankruptcy proceeding, which is it's not really bankruptcy, it's called receivership. And David and I have become specialists at providing forensic services, asset valuation, asset recovery services. When loans go bad, a court appointed receiver is put in place, and they typically will hire us to help them and assist them with their engagement to recover funds or assets. So unfortunately, those are the kind of things that we're doing a lot on the West Coast. As you know, the markets are kind of changing. California, especially in Washington and Oregon, a lot of these types of services become necessary in the past few years.
So just to
So it
rewind,
is. Oh, go ahead,
just to
David.
go ahead, just to rewind the clock. When we were at one of the earlier MJ business conferences in Las Vegas, we're walking the floor. This is pre us even having any booths, if you will. We were walking the floor, and then finally, one of the biggest merchant processors stopped us and spoke to us, and we explained our story. This is after years of trying to convince the cannabis business in the early days that they need compliance, they need to protect their data, they need to make sure the banks are comfortable. And they said, listen, guys, we want you guys, and they gave us a shot. And at that point forward, we have thousands and thousands of on-site inspections that we do for all the banks, community banks, local banks, merchant processors throughout the country. And we have everything that's related to state-specific controls.
Right.
And that's a lot of the value that we bring.
And we bring tailored solutions. So, for example, each state having different regulations in the United States, and also different regs overseas, as we expand to those territories as well. What's happening is, we will work with a financial institution, and a lot of times they don't know really where to start. And so we try to assess, and we try to understand what their risk tolerance is, and what they're looking to accomplish with their program, their cannabis program, banking program. And then we help them design a tailored solution, literally for their needs. And it's been working out for us, providing, value added service, a level of independence that the banks really need for compliance, because a lot of these folks in the early days didn't know that we existed. And they would try to do these inspections themselves. And a lot of times you get into some independence issues, meaning if you're sending the person who's the banking relationship manager out to go and do a site inspection, they want to keep the client, and they're not necessarily going to have, the glasses on that see everything that's necessary to keep the bank compliant, because they want to keep the client. So we offer a level of independence, professionalism that you find in the Big Four. And, like I said, we're trying to bring these services to the cannabis industry and help it mature and go through all the pains it needs to.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm real curious just in terms of last year in 2024, and actually I want to make a comment before I go to that question. You made a statement about bankruptcy, and it is so true, because we're not federally legal across the board. These cannabis companies can't file they can't file Chapter 7, they can't
Right.
file Chapter 11. But then I find it so interesting that you can read an article that, Green Co. is filing bankruptcy. No, they're not. They're not
Right.
filing bankruptcy.
Right.
Okay, they're wishing to file some sort of bankruptcy, and that's just really kind of more of a statement that I'm making for the industry, or really for anybody that's watching this, because we haven't protected our cannabis companies, and we don't have anything by which they can file. And I know that you help them along with those filings, or do whatever you can do to help them. But it is interesting to see it in the news that they're filing for
Right.
bankruptcy, but yet they're really not.
They're
Anyway,
not.
the question that I have for you gentlemen is, I was really curious to understand, of the big four that you work with, that in 2024, was there a trend that you saw, that in particular of the big four, that one was outshining one more than the other, that you were doing more licensing, or that you were doing more forensic accounting, or that you were doing more compliance over the other? Was there one that was really outshining one more than the other, or kind of were they all pacing the same? What were you more busy with in those charters that you do?
So the primary service that we're the busiest with the financial institutions that we work with or for is typically on-site compliance, and that could be done like on-site, or we could also do it remotely, depending on what the needs are of the financial institution we work for. That's the bulk of the work that we do, is compliance, site visits, making sure that folks have things in place that they need to in order to keep their business functioning and mitigate risks for the financial institutions that they work with
And
that bank
Frank,
them. Yep.
can you walk us through, like, so let's say, would this be a case whereby they've been notified by the compliance board from their state? They have some infractions against them. Would this be kind of a use case?
Well,
They're
that's
contacting you guys because they have some infractions against them by their cannabis compliance board. Is this maybe a situation whereby they contact you?
So that it could be a scenario. The majority of the work that we do is for the actual bank or credit union themselves. So for example, these are regular inspections. They will bring an onboarding, and when they're onboarding a client, we'll go out and do an inspection for them as part of their onboarding. And then there'll be an annualized or biannual inspection, depending on the financial institution. But yes, the scenario that you described is also a scenario, but that'll happen more as the industry matures, because what's happening is a lot of the first couple of years of cannabis throughout the states and in the United States, a lot of the efforts are getting these folks licensed and opened in the early days. And as the industry matures, we really see, a lot of businesses that are going to have these infractions are going to need to turn to quality folks that have the skill set, like we do in our company, to help them, undo some of those infractions or correct some of those infractions they have. But primarily, it's the financial institutions that are putting the pressure on them to fix these infractions, because they're just saying, we won't bank you. Matter of fact, the financial institutions are the ones that carry the largest stick here, because if you don't have the banking, whether you have infractions from the state that you're doing business in, if you don't have banking and you don't have money and you can't pay people, there really isn't any operations. So it kind of has to go hand in hand. If the clients make their financial institutions happy, in other words, we go there, hey, everything looks good, financial institution A, these guys are good to go, their account can stay open, great. If 3 weeks later a state compliant agency goes in and does an inspection, we may get another call from the financial institution we work for and say, hey, these guys had some compliance issues. Can you go and check them out if they were just at a point in time? In other words, maybe somebody just didn't follow procedures one day, and then when we were there, things were in place. So a lot of times we will get called to do that kind of work, but it's usually the financial institution that initiates it because they have the most risk.
And I just want to add that it's almost preventively, meaning so we go in on behalf of the banks
Right.
and we go through what's required of these companies at, be it a dispensary, a processor, distributor, what
Right.
have you, any level of the system, and they will fix, if you will, or mitigate those controls before the state gets in.
Right.
So they're typically going to be clean.
Right.
So for folks that have our services in advance,
And-
but after the fact, we could help as well.
Right.
Like post an infraction, we can come in and give them the best practice throughout the country, what's related to that specific state and that specific business.
And if you bring us aboard, if you're making the wise decision as a financial institution to bring us on board, your clients are going to be in good shape by virtue of what Dave just said. We're going to go in there on behalf of the onboarding and say, oh, well, you know what? Financial institution A, these guys need to do X, Y, Z, and P and Q first before you guys could actually open your account. And what they're going to do is they're going to jump through hoops and get that stuff done because they have the banking account. A lot of times you have to prove, depending on the jurisdiction, you have to prove that you have banking services too.
And more recently, a lot of these institutions ask us to inspect the business while it's in the build stage to build those controls
Right.
while the business is in process of being before pre-operational.
Right.
So
It's providing a level of assurance in advance, if you will, that, hey, we're going out there, we're sending our folks 420 IT Solutions to see what you guys are doing. Are you doing what you say you're doing? And if so, then, you get the stamp of approval, the bank account get open, and then, we continue to do regular site visits on behalf of the financial institution we work for.
Everything that you're saying here, it just goes to show how important and how essential it is for your services and how difficult this industry is. I mean,
Yeah.
I know a lot of people think it's sexy. A lot of people think, oh, I'm going to make so much money in the cannabis industry. Oh, let's sell pre-rolls. Oh, wow, let's sell some marijuana. Everybody thinks it's so great. Everybody thinks it's so cool. Oh, we're going to get in with some rappers and all this, but nobody understands the highly regulatory aspect of this industry. And,
Yeah,
first it was gaming. I mean, gaming set the standard. Casinos and gaming has got to be one of the most highly regulatory industries on the planet, period, the end. Come on now.
absolutely.
The
Agreed.
Nevada Gaming, the Gaming Commission, they're not effing around. They are not
Right.
effing around. And, they set the standard. And that's why everybody looks at Las Vegas. They still look at Las Vegas,
They do.
and now the cannabis industry, I've got to say, it's got to be up there in one of the toughest regulatory compliance industries on the planet.
It,
And so what you
Mhm.
guys are doing, hats off. I mean, really, your services are really, really needed and really, really, I think, probably underutilized. And so I'm glad we jumped on today because, a lot of people need to see this. You get into the industry, you need a lawyer. You need a lawyer to go through that contract for your licensing. You need a lawyer, guys. You're not going
Right.
to be able to do it without an attorney. And you need guys like Frank and David to go through this compliance and regulatory and to get you through your banking and everything. I mean, it's
Yeah.
crystal clear. It's
Yeah.
crystal clear,
Yeah.
I'm going to be utilizing your services.
I,
I have to set up for some stuff that I'm doing. I've got some complicated things coming up too, because
yeah.
for some unique products, and it's not going to be just a simple LLC. And
Right. And we appreciate that sentiment. I mean, the reason that we have a business is very simple. We both love cannabis. We both believe in it as a medicine, and we are coming from that standpoint as advocates. However, we have professional skills that we grew up with in our careers in the Big Four, and we just thought to ourselves, boy, wouldn't it be great to bring these professional services to this industry? A lot of these folks don't even know they need our services, and that's the thing. Part of what we do is educating people. That's why we are at trade shows. That's why you're going to see us everywhere, because we have a mission, and our mission is to bring professional services to the cannabis industry, help these folks do this right, and help them stay out of trouble so that way we all have access to this amazing plant. And that's really what it comes down to for us. We want to make sure people know that they have some quality folks. We've been at this since 2009, so references are everywhere. And we certainly can help if you have a need for our services. And we really appreciate you helping us, having us on, and helping us spread the good word.
oh, this is all the good stuff. This is the sizzle. I mean, anytime we can talk about this kind of stuff, this is all the good stuff. And by the way, these two gentlemen, you two are both certified CISAs.
Yes, right.
You know, and that's super important too in this industry. I mean, you want to have all the credentials and everything. You know, that's very important. And you know, so reeling forward, you know, we're still kind of early in 2025, but this year seems to be clipping along at a really fast pace.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
And so
Great year.
what's on your docket for 2025? What do you have slated for 2025? That's kind of big. Are you, you know, any kind of bold moves that you're making for 2025? Trade
Yeah, I
shows,
think.
conventions, speaker engagements, and so forth?
Yeah, sure. I think we were touching, on a call we had last week, just a conversation that, as 420 IT Solutions, it's always been our goal to expand and provide services in other countries, other regions, other jurisdictions. And right now, 2025, we have Europe on the mind. Um, Germany is on our places list of places that we want to get into. Switzerland with what's going on there as well, and then also some of the places that have medical cannabis, like England. And I believe we were talking about an event that was going to happen in Bordeaux. A mutual friend of ours is going to have. So that's kind of what we're looking at. We're looking to expand overseas. Right now, we're doing the bulk of our business in North America, you know, United States, Canada, and the like. But we definitely have Europe on the agenda, Spain as well. With their club scene that they have there, and then yeah, just expanding our reach, getting the word out there that our services are available, that we're independent, and hey, if you're getting into cannabis banking, don't go it alone. Don't try to rebuild the building yourself. When someone's already built a building, why not call those guys, and have them help you and get an independent viewpoint of your cannabis banking program, and do it professionally. Bring a level of professionalism to the cannabis industry. That's what we're trying to do.
And what's really interesting about 2025 this year is the amount of inbound leads we're getting. People are calling up.
Yeah.
How important this has become
Yes.
from all the credit unions. I mean, now we're so busy out here on the East Coast. It's
Right.
just New York and New Jersey. They're rolling hard, and Pennsylvania's next.
Yep.
And it's just incredible. When we first started this and trying to convince folks back in the early days, I mean,
Right.
from what it was then to what it is now, it's just incredible.
We've essentially seen the wave go across the country from west to east. And now on the West Coast, we're dealing with a lot of the consolidation, a lot of the mergers and acquisitions, a lot of the businesses going into receivership. So there's that part of the cycle, right, that happens before maturity ultimately happens and the industry sets itself up. So that's going on the West Coast. And on the East Coast, we still have, hey, we're in the build out and this is great and everything is happening. We're able to handle the whole spectrum of the cannabis vertical, whether it's a consolidation that's happening on the West Coast or it's expansion that's still happening on the East. And I wanted to also mention that in addition to David and I, we have a team of folks that have the same certifications that we do. CISA's certified in risk and information system control. David is a CISM as well, which is certified information security manager. We have CPAs on the team. We got it covered. If there's something that comes across, our desk in terms of financial services, we have it. And the most important thing that we have that another big, let's just say a big four doesn't have, or a regional accounting firm, we know our way around the farm. If someone says, "Hey, I have this harvest just happened and we just had this yield," these two guys can call BS. If something doesn't look right, we know right away. Whereas you send somebody else to go look at a financial statement and they don't have specific cannabis vertical experience, the wool could be pulled over their eyes just as quickly as we know what's wrong. And so that's an important reason why work with us. You probably don't want to call your big four guys, number one, because they're not touching it because it's still federally illegal right now. But your regional accounting firms that are trying to enter the space, they're basically 280E guys, right? Or
Right.
gals.
Right.
And so we really have the true full spectrum of services. We're not tax folks, but we provide all the other services that you find in the audit and assurance world, specifically for cannabis. And hopefully we're coming to a town near you and a conference near you. And if you see us, come and say hi.
Yep.
We're pretty nice guys, and we'd love to have a conversation and see what we have in common and advance the industry.
We always say, if you're in the cannabis industry, you will meet us at one time.
Oh,
Right.
We
for
are the good
sure.
guys.
Whether it's direct or indirect,
Right.
you know somebody that either knows us or knows of us.
Right.
And so we like to keep it that way.
Yeah. Well, before we wrap up, I always like to do a little crystal ball. And David, you started to go there because you're anticipating that that Pennsylvania. I always
Mhm.
think Philly. That Pennsylvania is going to be the next state, and
Mhm.
that's a little bit crystal ball, and I like that.
Yep.
So, but being a crystal ball. What do you think, where do you think we are going on the Safer Banking Act? Do you think we'll see anything with that end of 2025 or 26? Where do you think we are with the Safer Banking Act if you were to pull out your crystal ball? What does that look like? I would love your comments on that.
My opinion is, when all the states out there are disjointed as they are, like you heard what's happening with Texas, etc., our need is there,
Right.
because every state is going to need compliance specific for that state until things are federal, and who knows how far along that is from now. And the fact that these banks now decided more recently not to provide it in-house. Their AML folks have other things to do. And
Right.
and the end client understands that we're experienced, like what Frank was saying, with farms, with distributors, with processors, with dispensaries. They know the experience, they know the value that we could bring to the table by walking through thousands of these places every day.
Right.
And so my crystal ball is, it's just going to get bigger. Our role is going to become more important to all the
Right.
financial institutions out there.
But in terms of answering your question about the Safer Banking Act, do we think that these folks in Washington are going to get their act together? Absolutely not.
No, not yet.
I don't see it happening. I don't see it happening in the next year, in the next 2 years, in the next 3 years. I think it's going to take a legislative action for something like this to happen. That's going to have to be a consensus, and I don't think there is a consensus. I think that the current administration, not for or against, but it seems that they're business centric, seems that they're going to keep letting the states do what the states are doing. As you know, the first AG that President Trump put into place, immediately rescinded both of the memos, right, that were guiding this process, which is why the cannabis industry exists. But guess what? It's still been hands off. Even though the memos have been rescinded, it's been hands off. I see it continuing that way. I'm hoping that they'll allow some type of banking activity to happen and make it so that way deductions can be taken off of taxes, that they currently can't do. But
You don't know.
for David and I, the way that we're situated, if the industry continues to stay disjointed, we're still here to help. If it becomes federally legal, we're still here to help because we anticipate a consolidation of rules and regs at that point in time.
It's very important.
And right now we have, we've done over 10,000 inspections since we started, and we have, literally tons and tons of data that is really useful information for the right folks. And one of the things that is in our future is we are a service company, but we'd like to become a data company, meaning we'd like to be able to take what information that we've have accumulated all the years of our existence, which is very valuable, which can't be scrubbed from the internet, and find a tool or develop a technology that can make this information available to folks that they can make business decisions from it. Um, that's what we want to be, and that's we're kind of looking for some investment to build our product in the background. But right now, we're straight up a service company. We provide professional services, but we'd love to be able to use the data that we have for the common good of the cannabis industry. And for that, we need a few dollars to build a tool. So we are looking for some investment. We've never had investors in the 14 years of our business. Actually, we had one investor that was an angel investor, never converted to equity because we paid him back. So we have a good track record. We know how to run a business, and we can also help others in our vertical to succeed. And we'd
Mm,
love it if folks can know that we're out there and utilize our services to help them get ahead.
that data sounds like some liquid gold.
That's right. That's right.
It
It
does.
really does. It sounds like some, yeah,
Uh-huh.
some liquid gold there. Indeed,
There's some
indeed. That's
pixie
what
dust in that
everybody
data.
is.
Absolutely.
Mhm. So what is the next, where would be the next big place that folks would be able to find you? What is your next big conference or trade show?
Right now we got a couple events that we're looking into. We typically look at the C Lab event down in Florida. Um,
PBC in Washington will definitely be there.
PBC is one that we come always attend because
It's
that's
a compliance focus, banking
payments,
focus.
banking, and compliance. I mean, we're one of the original
Excellent.
sponsors when it was called Avon Pay in 2019.
Okay,
That's how
okay.
long we've been at it. That's a big one for us because it's all financial services, banks, lenders. We also, like I said, we're looking at some events overseas. I believe IBCB
A lot
overseas.
going
I
on
think
in
it's
Europe this for
yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Alex
In
Rogers
summer
is
and
running a good
fall.
yeah.
Absolutely.
So like I said, these are the kind of things. Obviously, MJ Biz is a staple for us. More so the after events as more business gets done. Tina, as you probably know, at the business functions that are adjacent to MJ Biz, we basically walk the floor one day, and the rest of the time it's we go and see our clients or happy hour networking kind of thing, and that's really where the bulk of the meeting and the getting to know people happens. But yeah, we got a full calendar. We got to get over to Europe this year, and that's the plan. And just keep expanding and just keeping our name out there, so folks can know we exist and help them.
Excellent, excellent. Well, you have fantastic services. Certain
Thank you.
and certainly, and I know the cannabis industry can benefit all the way around, every aspect of it, whether you're a consumption lounge or a vertically integrated company, you're an MSO, they can benefit from you guys from top to bottom, all
That's
the
right.
way.
That's right.
So definitely, but we're right here on the mark here. So we're going to go ahead and wrap it up here. But how can anybody reach you
So,
that's trying to find 420 IT solutions? And
yeah.
we'll put up your website and everything here, but
Yep.
your
Sure.
website, and then can they follow you on Instagram and everything?
Yeah. You can find us on Instagram. You could also find us. You could also find us on LinkedIn. We have a LinkedIn page. We're on Instagram. Our website is also available, and basically, we're coming to a conference near you. You'll definitely see us in person. We're not shy, as you know.
And
Just
everything
call.
is
Sure.
420 IT Solutions?
Yeah, 420itsolutions.com. You can call, and if you want to reach us, our toll-free number is 888-420-6788. I'm sorry, 420-7006. My bad. It's 888-420-7006.
Excellent, excellent. Well, David and Frank, I thank you so much for joining us here today. It is the Lotus Broadcast powered by Cannabis X America, and you enjoy the rest of your time in Las Vegas.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us,
Thank
Tina.
you for having us.
Pleasure talking to you today.
Thank you so much.
Bye, guys.
Bye now.